Welcome to Conversations with the Candidates. I'm your host, Eve Noss. We'll be talking right now with Jason Silva, who is running for Councilor at Large. He's an incumbent. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Why don't we start off with your telling us why you've decided to run again?
Well, I'm born and raised in Beverly. I live on Dane Street with my 3 young boys and wife Teresa. My kids are Harry, Charlie, and Archie. They're 7, 5, and 3. I went through the public school systems. My kids are going through the public school system now. In my professional life, I have experience in working in city government. I was the mayor of Salem's chief of staff for 7 years. Now I'm the executive director of the Salem YMCA. And I've really enjoyed the opportunity to give back to the community in the role as Councilor at Large in Beverly. So I think I have something to offer. My experience, I think, is unique and offers a unique perspective. And I'm hoping to do it for another term.
Okay. So what do you think are the top 3 issues facing the city today?
I think the middle school, of course, is one which we recently received some good news from the state on funding for a new middle school, which is great. I think that's the public schools in general, I think, is an obvious priority. And with 3 children in the school system currently, that's a priority of mine. I think downtown is a priority. It's one that's near and dear to my heart. I live on Dane Street, so we're in walking distance to the beach and to downtown. So we frequent a lot of the shops and the restaurants and the coffee shops. And I think there's a ton of potential along Cabot Street and also Rantoul. And so as a councilor, that's something that I focused on to try to make sure that we're paying attention, investing when we can, and encouraging the sort of development and investment that we all hope for and want to see. Lastly, I just think it's finances. When it's all said and done, the city needs a strong fiscal picture in order to do all the things that we want to do. Mm-hmm. So have nice streets, have playgrounds and parks that we all can enjoy, and things like that. We need to be able to pay our bills. So so I think just making sure that we're sharp financially and we're on top of things, and have the right practices and policies in place to ensure that all that is getting done, so we can do the sexier things. I think those are the 3 most important things to me.
What would you like to see go into downtown that we don't have right now? Or I know there's a lot of development in terms of housing going on Rantoul Street. Mm-hmm. Since I've lived here, Cabot Street has kind of come back a little bit, but there's some talk about what's needed, and where do you stand on that?
So I think there's a strong restaurant community in downtown right now, and it seems to be thriving and flourishing. And when there's in the restaurant business, I guess there's typical turnover, but it seems like there are other restaurants willing and interested to fill the void. So I think that's something that's really a strength right now in downtown. But I do think there's tons of potential, particularly where the garage is being built right now along Rantoul Street. The council, was it this year, passed a residential TIF district to incentivize residential development in that area, in the garage area on Rantoul Street. And I think that's critical to get to create a customer base for increased business community in downtown. So having residents living in downtown to really activate the streetscape, to have the type of shops and the type of retail, and adding to the restaurant community, I think, is important. We've also talked about additional liquor licenses in downtown to allow, because there aren't any on the market right now, so we're limited by population. There are state laws around that. So I think that increasing liquor licenses makes a lot of sense in order to attract additional restaurants in downtown too. So so I think adding residents is critical. And I think we've started to do that. I also think having an active streetscape to have the shops and restaurants that people want to go to will help attract restaurants there. So I think when you live in downtown, it's more of a lifestyle choice, and when you have all the amenities, within walking distance. I think that's what people are looking for.
And it would complement having a garage, the train parking is
train.
what you're talking about for commuters.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how much time does it take for you to spend doing all of this city councilor work?
A lot.
How does that work?
It's supposed to be only a part-time job, but it doesn't usually turn out that way. It's a lot.
How do you balance that in your life in terms of the amount of time and having a family with 3 children and a wife and a job, full-time job, and
yeah,
that sort of thing?
It's definitely a juggling act. I have a very supportive family, and usually when you get one, you get all of us. So it's definitely a team effort. So my wife's very supportive. The kids are great. They're still young, but they get excited during campaign season. It's almost a lifestyle we've chosen. And so somehow, with the craziness of my schedule and the craziness of my kids, and just the busy lifestyle with work, with family, with the city council, we're able to manage it all and have fun doing it. So we enjoy it. Yeah.
And what would you characterize as your style in terms of how you come across or how you get things done, how you meet with people in the city, that sort of thing?
It depends on who you talk to, I guess. I think I really try to take a professional approach to everything I do. And so when I'm looking at an issue, I try to take input from all sides and I listen to all sides, but ultimately I try to make a decision based on the merits of a proposal and what ultimately I believe is right for the city. So I think I'm serious, but also I try to take a professional, thoughtful approach to the role as city councilor.
So part of being a city councilor is helping to oversee, well, not oversee, but have some input with the budget and some responsibility toward the budget. So I think the Beverly budget is around $105 million. So tell us about what qualifies you to get involved with our budget.
So I have background in city government. I was the chief of staff to Kim Driscoll in Salem for 7 years. So I've actually had my professional life experience and a role in creating a municipal budget for a city. So I think that especially uniquely qualifies me to review my hometown city budget in Beverly. So I think that is one part that I really enjoyed, the financial component of the role in looking at things and making sure we're doing things fiscally sound. And there have been a number of times where I've questioned and disagreed with the administration on certain things. I think overall the city's in very solid fiscal ground, but there are always some things that I think we can look at and improve upon. So, but I think especially that component of the job, I think I am uniquely qualified.
So in terms of the city council, what would you say is the fiscal responsibility that a city councilor at large has actually?
So the city council ultimately approves the budget. The city can't spend money without approval for the budget, approval of the city council. So we ultimately, the budget is created by the administration and the mayor and the finance team. We ultimately can cut, we can add, and we approve. So that's really how I see the role of the city council. But I also think, just in general terms, I think there's a checks and balances there. So I think that the city council is obligated to really take a serious look at the budget, ask questions when necessary, make sure that our tax dollars are being spent wisely.
What do you consider important when it comes to balancing the city budget currently? Leverage points, what are some of the problems that you see and that are occurring now? Yeah,
I think probably everybody's heard them, but it's I think health insurance, although the city's done a decent job of late in negotiating savings in health insurance costs, so we've stabilized those costs fairly well. Pensions are a huge cost to the city that is state regulated, so it would take it's a state pension system, so it takes the state to make some of those changes. Some of those are out of our control. I think the sick leave buyback we have in some of our collective bargaining agreements is something that's within our control, and something that we really should take a hard look at and see if we can do a better job at trying to negotiate those items out of the contract, to be honest with you, because I think they're a cost that that should be reduced in the city budget. I also think that from a policy perspective, we should have a policy that we bid all city contracts. This is one of my major bugaboos. Yes, it's a bee in my bonnet sometimes on the council, is that there are contracts by state law that you're required to bid, and then there are others that you're not for some reason. I don't, like, for instance, trash collection. You don't have to bid that contract. This year, I actually worked with the administration, and the administration did bid the contract. And we have weekly recycling now, and I think it was a benefit to the city, and because we did that. And I think there are other contracts. There's our liability insurance, property casualty insurance. We haven't bid in some time, and I actually voted against the finance department's budget this year because of that, because it's something that I've advocated for the 2 years I've been on the council, and we still haven't done it. So I think there's potential savings if we bid that contract publicly. But I think we should have a policy that those type of contracts should be publicly bid, so we make sure we're spending, like I said, the tax dollar money most efficiently.
Is that something that other cities do as a matter of course, or is it unusual?
Cities vary, but I know that there are a lot of cities that do bid those type of contracts, and even though they're not required to by law.
But if it saves money, then it makes sense, right?
That's what I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me talk to you about development. What do you see as what's your overall view in terms of, if you have one, in terms of development in Beverly? In terms of the need or the potential for development?
So go back to budgeting for a second. The budget, one of the key components of balancing a budget every year is the new growth and tax revenue that we receive, which is primarily generated from development, from new growth. So I think it's very important to seek out responsible ways to continue to encourage wise development. So I think downtown is one area where you really could see that. Last night, the City Council voted to approve a rezoning on Brimble Ave to encourage what I would consider responsible additional growth and development that will help us moving forward to continue to have the quality of life that we all have grown accustomed to in Beverly. I think it's a high quality of life. But there are also a lot of needs that we have in this city. We all want the middle school project to go forward. We need a new public safety facility. We've talked about a new police station for years.
Many years.
Yeah. And in order to do that, there needs to be some offset in revenue. You need the revenue in order to spend. Right. So I think from a development perspective, it needs to be thoughtful. It needs to be done with a plan, and it needs to be done in areas that make sense. But you need to seek out those opportunities in order to continue the city's progress.
So my next question was going to be having to do with how do you evaluate a development project. I think you partially answered that question in terms of what you look at. Would you have anything else to add in terms of evaluation?
I guess I could speak to one of the things that I think has most potential is downtown, like I said earlier. And I think the key to making the downtown work is finding the plots of land that can carry additional development. I think a mixed use development is what we really need. So some of the most recent developments, we've seen just residential components to the building. But I think to really have a successful downtown, especially in that area that we're talking about around the MBTA train station, you don't just need residential. I think you do need residential, but you need to activate that first floor of any building that's being built there to have that active, vibrant streetscape that we're all looking for.
Right.
So.
This is a related but different question. Do you think that Beverly has any real potential for tourism, the way Salem or Gloucester or Newburyport has? We have historic homes and various Lynch Park and other kinds of things, but we don't have a real tourist trade the way those cities have sort of created
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. It's not something I've thought about a lot. I think Beverly, most cities would kill for the type of assets that Beverly has. I mean, with the waterfront, with the vibrant downtown, with the historical assets we have, Lynch Park. I mean, just the assets that are at our fingertips are, you know, ones that most communities don't have. So,
Right.
So we certainly have a lot to offer, and potentially marketed correctly, you know, with our our restaurant community, and with our downtown starting to flourish, and hopefully with the development at some point soon of the waterfront with the Black Cow restaurant going forward. I think those things combined, and if they're packaged correctly, could certainly maybe siphon off some of those folks coming to Salem and get them over the bridge. Yeah.
So what's going on with the waterfront these days and the Black Cow? And have you worked on that directly?
I haven't worked on that directly, and I know it's been tied up for 10 or so years now, I think,
Yeah.
and appeal after appeal after appeal, which is really unfortunate, because I think that's the type of development we want on our waterfront. But hopefully, as far as I know, I think I think we're on the right course now, and I think there's one potential hurdle that is left, but I think that's on the right course as far as I know.
Okay. The Brimble Avenue project, as you mentioned, was just voted in last night, I
Yep.
think, to go ahead.
We voted to approve the rezoning of that parcel
Yeah.
on Brimble Ave. Yep.
And what's the time frame for that? Do you have any idea?
Time frame for the development?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think there was some confusion with what exactly we were voting on. There was a portion of land, the state-owned land, that we voted to rezone. We didn't vote to approve any project on that site. And in fact, that project could go forward, could have went forward a month ago if it wanted to, if the property owner wanted to. So what we were focused on is really the Brimble Ave interchange project. That was the stated goal, is to improve traffic safety and congestion, so this land swap allows us to build a new ramp which can hopefully accommodate more traffic and more cars to allow them to travel safer and in and out of that area. So the development, I think, was going to go forward, and the property owner said it was going to go forward regardless of whether or not the council voted in favor of not of the rezoning. It came down, for me at least, it came down to whether or not the new ramp would be safer for cars to go in and out of it, and I think ultimately it would. And ultimately that property, no matter what we did, was going to be developed at some point. If it wasn't by this owner, it was going to be developed at some point. There's too much money invested in it,
right,
for it not to be.
So the land swap wouldn't allow, would give the city revenue, and at the same time, you're saying that the interchange would actually help traffic issues.
See, I would say the land swap allows us to build a new ramp to accommodate additional cars and to make it safer to pass through.
Okay.
The revenue piece, I think that property was going to be developed, and we would have got revenue whether or not we did the land swap. He owns the property. He owned the property before. He owns the property now.
Right.
And he intended to develop it either way.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to ask you about. So, if you were elected, would you be involved with that project as it progresses, and or not?
Yeah, I mean, the process for that project to get approved, if there is a project at some point that's proposed, is through the planning board. So the planning board has, as it's zoned currently, the planning board needs to approve a special permit for a shopping plaza. If that's the project that advances, they have to issue a special permit in order for it to advance. So it still requires a thorough review, if proposed, by the planning board, and certainly I would be involved in that.
Okay. What do you think are the biggest challenges facing the school system in Beverly?
Oh, geez. I think the school system, I mean, I have personal experience with the school system, and I think...
You're a graduate, right?
I'm a graduate, and I have 3 kids, and I have my oldest is in second. I have a kindergartner, and I have one in preschool. So,
where did you go to elementary school? Just
I went to Ayers,
Ayers,
and I went to Hannah. So I went to
Ayers
both.
and Hannah.
Yeah, I started in Ayers, and then we moved, so I went to Hannah.
And then you went to Briscoe?
Briscoe, and then the high school.
And then the high school.
Yeah.
So you've had some experience
I
with
have.
schools.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So do you have a sense of what is needed in terms of school budget or school? I mean, there's the K school that's been sitting there.
Yeah.
There are budget issues. There's a new superintendent being hired eventually, and so.
Yeah. So I think class sizes are always something that we're monitoring, and all through each budget that I've been involved in, there's been conversation about what resources are necessary in order to keep the class sizes at a level that we all want. I think special education is always a issue, just from a funding perspective, making sure that kids that need additional attention, we ensure that they're getting it and that they get a top-notch quality of education. So making sure that we're providing the funding necessary in order to do that is always a priority. I mean, certainly the Briscoe building right now, just the facility itself is a challenge, and something that we need and is on the right path, but we need to make sure that continues on the right path. And just as a member of the council, our general authority over the schools is approving the bottom line budget of the school system. So, so the school committee is really more involved in the inner workings of the budget and the operations.
Right.
But I think generally those are the things that immediately come to mind.
Okay. And what about the McKay School that's just been sitting there vacant? Yeah,
that's another thing I've been advocating for. I think we ought to sell it. I think we should, another example of, I think we should issue an RFP for someone to come in and purchase it and accept proposals on what they want to do with it, because it's been vacant for far too long, and if we, it's probably a property that we could put on the tax rolls, and we could have put on the tax rolls some time ago, and be reaping the benefits of the taxes.
Is it being marketed? I mean, I know that there have been a couple of offers, and the mayor said that they were too.
Yeah, they were too low, I guess.
Too low.
Yeah.
Which may, be the case, but I don't see a for sale sign out there.
I don't either. I wish there was. No, I think I'm not sure. I think the city is working on that, and I know the administration has talked about working on that. So I think they are certainly giving it attention. I think they should issue an RFP, put it back out on the market, and see what comes in. That's what I do.
So that's not being done now.
Last it was mentioned at a council meeting was and they said they intended to do that. I don't know what the timeline is on that. I forget, but they said they intended to do it again, which I think is the right thing to do.
Okay. And the new police and fire station, is there conversation about that?
There's always conversation about it. We talk about it all the time.
Since the 80s.
Yeah, exactly.
At least.
Yeah,
at least.
No kidding. Yeah, we talk about it all the time, and it's a real need. It's something that affects operations clearly in the police department, and I think it's something that should be a priority. The city has a capital improvement plan that the administration creates annually, and right now it's far off into the distance. So it's about, I think in the plan it's about 10 years away. So, in that it's a matter of funding and priorities. So I understand why it's so far away, but I for one would certainly like to see it moved up as quickly as possible.
I took a tour there. I don't.
Oh,
how they can get their work done. That's what I think.
I know.
We're almost out of time, so I have one more question for you. Time goes by quickly.
30 minutes, huh?
So why should I vote for you?
Didn't I just tell you? No. Honestly, I think that, again, it's something that I really enjoy. I really have enjoyed giving back to the community. It's really rewarding work, and I think I do have I have things to offer to the city. It's my hometown. I really care about it. I'm invested in it with my 3 kids in the public school system. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be here. We're in Beverly, and we're planted in Beverly probably forever. So, so with all that said, I think my experience is an asset to having an understanding of operations in city government, having an understanding of finances in government, and being able to bring those skills to the City Council, I think has been helpful over the last 2 years, and I'm hopeful that, that I'll be able to continue to do that over the next 2.
Well, I wish you luck.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
So this is Eve Noss. I've been interviewing Jason Silva, who is the City Councilor at Large. This is Conversation with the Candidates, and thank you for joining us.